'cause life is for living. Let's see where this all might lead. Let's see where this all might lead. Waking up to a brand new day in between your sheets.
It's so nice to have you on the show. So obviously I interviewed Kim quite a few months ago, and I interviewed her in Holland, and it was just such a beautiful conversation. And when she mentioned you, and you know, through the conversation as well, and hearing her story, it was so wonderful how she brought you into, you know, just really being one of her biggest heroines, you know. And well, it's funny actually, my daughter at the moment, they're busy learning about not heroes but sheroes.
Oh,
And
so sweet.
yeah, and you know, you definitely, you know, your daughter's shero. And the minute I heard, and you know, I asked her, I said, what, you know, tell me about that, why? And she just said, you know, that you really just know how to turn lemons into lemonade. And, you know, I think that is just the most important skill that anyone can have in life, you know, is learning to deal with life, because we get taught from, we don't get taught, but I think we are taught that fairy tale, right? We taught that life is a fairy tale ending, and, you know, from childhood with all the Disney films, and then when life does happen, then we don't actually know how to deal with it, because it's not the fairy tale ending we were taught it was going to be. So yeah, let's just, you know, I've introduced in terms of, you know, how I know you briefly now, but tell us, you know, who's Magda? I say it's Magda, actually. That's how
Magda.
You pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't like my own name, but all right. My grandchildren, the little ones, call me Oma Maggie.
Oh, sweet.
But Magda is all right, okay.
Yes.
Well, I was born in the last century, 1938.
Yeah.
So I'm a very old generation right now. No?
Yeah.
Well, and I'm living near my kids. I'm very glad to be near. And well, I must admit they are my all, you know, they are my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And were you born? Where were you born?
Where I was born, well, I was born in Indonesia, in
Yeah.
a small town on East Java. And well, I think about 2 or 3 years before World War II began. And when the war started, World War II started, my mom had her 11th baby.
Wow.
And we moved then to Surabaya, which is the capital of East Java. And well, that was a very hard time, because after a few months, all the men, all the husbands were being taken into concentration camps. So my mom was left with 11 children. The oldest was about 14 years old, and a baby of 3 months. And there was no income, because everything was closed when the Japanese came into Java. So I don't know how she survived, but well, she was really a saint, and she was really a hero, because although she had so many problems and so many sores, she always cared so much for us and made life, although there was nothing, made life happy for us. So I remember the years of the war very well, because of all the things that happened. Although my mom had no income, banks were closed, no schools, um, she started to sell her jewelry,
Her own
uh,
jewelry.
her own jewelry, ring
Wow.
by ring, yes, bracelet by bracelet, just to be able to get some food for us. But you know, there things happen because a lot of friends of my mom um, helped us out. I was very ashamed because with my brother or one of her sisters, I had to go on foot through under the tropical sun without shoes on my feet. We had to go to some house, a friend's house of my mom, to get a large pan of soup, you know.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, but well, we survived, you know, and well, my mother was really, really a hero, and a saint. She was not knowing where my father was,
Same.
and he was interned for 4 years,
Mm.
and in wartime. So okay, that's a kind of my first years. I remember them very well, and we had, you know, my parents had those 11 children, 7 girls and 4 boys.
Wow. And where were
Well,
you in the line? What's your...
number 8. Number 8.
Okay,
But
yeah.
so
So eighth child, yeah.
but you
Wow.
know, in my family, you had the eldest, about 4, the eldest. Then there was a middle group, and I belonged to the 4 youngest
So you had
because
the oldest child. So say that again.
yes, the eldest child was
Yes.
a girl,
Yeah.
then another girl, and then a boy, then another girl, and those 4 were the eldest, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And then you had another brother and another sister, and they were the middle group,
Okay.
and then the 4 youngest were the last ones.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
the youngest ones.
But then you were one of the youngest.
Yes,
Okay. So
I was.
did that have a sort of hierarchical system in the family? Did that play out in a way?
Well, we had those 3 groups, but we all. Well, I can't remember we had any problems or, yeah, surely childish fights because this is mine, this is mine. You know, I grab something, but we never had any big troubles. But you know, I remember very well because of the war. Um, um, my 2 elder sisters, they were, I think, 14 and 13. They had to go working just to earn some money in restaurants and as to serve at the tables, you know. And we had very limited food. But so when my sisters were working and they were coming home at about 2 o'clock, and we had our very minimum meal at noon. And I remember very well that with my younger sister and my brother, we ran to the tram stops, the tramway stops, and asking our elder sisters, please, when you can't finish, if you have enough of your food, can we have the rest?
Oh, wow.
Isn't that sad? But and they felt very much obliged just to leave some on their plates for us.
Wow.
So, and well, it. Still, I have very happy memories of my childhood during wartime.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Wow. And so when you say, I heard you say tram, Did you move to the Netherlands already, or when did you move to the
No,
Netherlands?
no. We were in Indonesia and at Surabaya. We were living in Surabaya, and just after the war, when I was 12 years old, we after the independence period of Indonesia, we went to the Netherlands.
Okay, when you were 12. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But and
I,
your father, what happened to your dad?
well, he survived the concentration camp
Yeah.
very happily. And, you know, when a war was officially ended, we had this very scary period in Indonesia of kind of guerrilla. Surely now I understand very well that Indonesia, after 300 years of colonialism,
Yeah.
wanted to be there, have to be, want to have their own independence.
Yeah.
So there was this guerrilla, and you know, we were living in this house, and at the other side of the road, there always was a hospital, but now it was, of course, in wartime, the Japanese were in this hospital, and well, they were very cruel because thieves were put on the street and binded on a lamppost, and in this tropical sun, and they were beaten and couldn't have anything to drink. But okay, during this after war, during this we called it bersiap. It's the word for we want freedom. And during this bersiap time,
How do you spell that?
sorry,
How do you spell that?
BERSIAP.
Okay, bersiap. Yeah.
Bersiap, yeah. And especially the young Indonesians were very, well, thrilled to fight for their freedom. And we called them pemudas. And okay, in front of our house was this hospital, but in the meantime, when war was officially ended, from America, from UK, they would send troops to help us, the people in Indonesia, to help us out of camps, etc. So, but because of this bersiap time, in the night we were together, but there was fighting and there was alarms, etc. And my mother, with her 11 children, in her bedroom under the bed, we were, just very much afraid. I remember, and behind our house, this young Pemudas, freedom fighters, were fighting and shooting, and from the hospital, where in this meantime there were Gurkhas and UK soldiers.
Yeah.
So we sat just between these two zones, you know. And I remember I was very much afraid, and there were wounded people around the house because we heard them calling for, please, can I have some water? Can I have some water? But all right, in the end, these Gurkha soldiers from the UK entered the house because they were afraid that in the house were Pemudas as well. And, you know, they found my mom with her 11 children under the bed with 2 or 3 girls of 14, 13, and they tried to grab my sisters, my older sisters, and then my mom said, scream as hard as you can. And we all started to scream, scream, scream. And then came some UK officers and they sent away the Gurkhas. But then we had to flee.
But so just to clarify, there, the Gurkhas are the UK guys coming actually over to help, but they were taking older sisters to maybe do something bad.
Yeah, surely, but all things happen during a war, you know. But okay, we had to flee, but where to? So my poor mom with her 11 children, we had 5 minutes from our house, we had friends, and then so we went there, and they were all ready with a group of some 15, 20 people, you know.
Yeah.
So we, well, in the end, we could stay there for some days, and then we had to flee again to other friends with a bigger house, and until we were being interned by the Pemudas as well.
Yeah.
And so we had to grab our bags. Well, we had nothing, you know. We had only the clothes we had on. And the funny thing is, what my mother took from house to house were all the clothes of my father. And she even didn't know whether he survived the concentration camp. But okay, we had to go on foot for some kilometers to the train station, but in between we were being shot at, so we had to crawl in the... it was just awful. I was so afraid of losing my mom or my family, you know.
Yeah.
So that was really scary. I was very much afraid. But in the end, we were put in a train and brought to an old sugar factory, and there we were put into internation camp and concentration camp, indeed, for I think 1 year. And well, that was without any, well, scary, very scary, hardly any food. So we all fell ill, you know, malaria and tropical diseases. But still, my mom was always very energetic and helping not only her family, but other families around us as well. And then we were transported to another concentration camp, which was worse. And well, I know I fell seriously ill with another sister and a brother. And then we were transported, it was the end of the war, then we were transported on trains to kind of freedom, you know, but we never knew where we were being taken. So it was, the wartime, I remember very well the wartime.
That's incredible,
Yeah.
Just for history, I'm just curious. So tell me, so you had the colonial era, but just tell me in brief, in a nutshell form, what was the transition of history in Indonesia?
Sorry?
What was the transition, the history transition in Indonesia?
The transition?
Yeah.
Oh, that indeed was very hard, because surely the Netherlands wouldn't give up the colonials, but of course it became an international case, you know. America said they had to leave Indonesia to the Indonesians, but it was all all politics, you know. And okay, it's never, politics are never very honest, but good. This transition didn't go very well because, okay, we came out of the Bersiap concentration camp, all the 11 children with my mom, and big surprise, my father survived the Japanese concentration camp. So we were united, and then Surabaya is a big capital city of East Java.
Mm.
You had to go and find a living. So you could choose from many houses were just left alone and without any furniture, nothing. So my father could choose a very big house with a big garden,
Yeah.
but there was no furniture at all. But then you had to go to, well, big places where all the furniture during war was put away. And so we started again after war with beds from, well, I don't know who had slept in it,
Yeah.
and tables and chairs. But okay, you survived everything, so you were very content, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but then, of course, this independence stream went on, and it became very scary. But it happened many times that these Pemuda freedom fighters, young men, just went into houses and slaughtered families. So before we went to sleep, I remember that my parents went to barricade all the windows and all the doors with rope and everything. So it wasn't a good time.
Mm.
And
Why were the freedom fighters? Why were they going against their own people?
just out of hate. I mean, I understand now that during the Japanese war, the Japanese started to put hate into the hearts and souls of young Indonesians. You know, they said you need your independence, and they delivered weapons as well. So they put hate into
Okay.
these people.
Yeah.
And
And that was
well,
the
well,
guerrilla warfare, right? That was what you call the guerrilla warfare.
yes, and you know, when there's hate in people's souls, they and in the tropics they go, they say go amok. They go amok. They don't know. They just follow their hate and do terrible things,
Mm.
and that's why our house was being barricaded every night before we went sleeping. And my father was working in the government, and it was always every, yeah, of course, not in the war years, but he could go on leave to the Netherlands.
Mm.
Before the war, my parents went to leave for a year to the Netherlands on leave from the government, and they had 4 children only then.
Mm.
And so now my father chose to go on leave again with the 11 children because my elder brothers and sisters were, well, 16,
Yeah.
17 by
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and they had to go to choose a study, you know, and we had to go to schools, and which was, well, there were schools open after war, but like my older sisters, they did college of 5 years in 3 years. And
Wow.
I went to the basisschool, the ordinary school.
The junior
And
school. Yeah.
yeah, the
Elementary
junior
school.
school. And I was 12 in 1950. I had to start high school, you know. So in the end, 1950, my
Mm.
parents went to the Netherlands with their 11 children. And the eldest started to study. I
Yeah.
started high school. And then my father was asked to go back to Indonesia to help starting up the Indonesian people in his office so that they could take the jobs
Mm.
and do their work good.
Yeah.
But my father, in the end, my father didn't want to leave his family again, although it was very, it was, how do I call it? You know, when he would have gone back to Indonesia, he would have his salary over there and the same salary my mother would have in the Netherlands. So financial, it would be nice, but he wouldn't leave his family again, not knowing what would happen, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
wow, I can imagine. I mean,
that's
did your
when
dad, he survived that time? Did he share those stories? Because I know often in families during this time, you actually didn't share the stories of what happened, you know?
not really. Um, you know what the old people in concentrations camp do is speaking about food because there's no food at all.
Yeah, shame.
Everybody
Yeah.
is saving recipes of special dishes. That's really very funny. Yeah. But surely I can understand. But no, he didn't tell us much about his time in concentration camp. But yeah. As a child, you are not interested, of course.
Yeah.
You live your day by day life, surely
Yes.
very egocentrical.
Yeah.
And well, probably he told my mom, but well, they were very wonderful parents. I had such a lovely youth within this big family, but we all had together, you know. There was this little community, and I felt very safe, although I had experiences of nasty things in wartime.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you were talking earlier about your mom being in the concentration camp and having to go to 2 concentration camps.
Yes.
First, the first one, and the second was an even worse concentration camp.
Yeah.
You said. I mean, how did she manage 11 kids? I mean, I hardly managed 2.
That's right. I know what you mean. I had 4, so yeah, I don't know. But she was always there for us, and we all felt ill, you know. My youngest sister, who was born just before war, was about 2 or 3, and she got this disease, beriberi, and her little legs were very swollen, and her little belly, and she couldn't hardly get up. We were all undernourished, of course, and but I don't know how she did it. But she was just such a very example for everybody because other people were asking her for advice as well. Well, I think I know. She had her face, you know. She was a Catholic. We were all brought up Catholics, but she really had his face, and I think she prayed a lot in her heart, and I don't know whether it helped, but it helped her to be there for us. I don't know how she did it, because as a child, you just go around, and we were looking for food, and luckily in the tropics there are always plants you can grab and put into some water and make some soup. That's it.
Wow. And I mean, just show me in my mind's eye, like a day in the life of being in the camp. What would you do? Like, paint that picture for me.
Well, we were in this sugar factory. It was a big factory.
Yeah.
Big rooms, big. So we had this little space with just mats on the ground. My mom and her 11 children, and in the beginning, food was distributed per building, you know. And as my mother had 11 children, the officers in the camp put my mother as head of this building to divide the food, because
Wow.
they thought she has 11 children, she knows how to divide honestly, you know.
Wow.
And well, okay, but after a little time, we got some rice and well, no meat, of course, and she had to put a meal together themselves. Well, I was really hungry then, and you know what they did? My mom, with all the clothes she got from home of my father. You call it, well, there were fences around this factory of bamboo, you know, and you call it gedek.
Yeah.
You call it gedek. And what people did were in the night, very stealthy, went to this bamboo fence, this gedek, and there were always Indonesian people who wanted to you give something to them, and they give something, food to us, you know, and that's how we survived as well, because my not the eldest sister, but the sister after the eldest, she was a very energetic girl, and she dared everything. So she went in the night with a pantalon of my father, or a shirt, or
Oh, wow.
and she called, "Men, are you there? Can we change? Can I get some food? You get the shirt." And so, well, that happened. But when you were caught, you got a very strict punishment.
Yeah.
But happily, my sister was never caught. My brother was caught one time, and he changed some shirt or trousers to 20 cakes, Indonesian cakes, and he was caught, and as a punishment, he had to eat all those 20 cakes himself, you know. So,
Seriously?
yeah, well, that was the least punishment,
Yeah,
because you could have
absolutely.
be beaten, and yeah.
Although, I mean, obviously you can die from also overeating, huh? So you can actually also die from that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's really, when I'm thinking back, I think, wow, that really, we all survived. It's really a miracle, you know.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yes.
And tell me, but what about you during the day? What would you be doing? Would you just be sitting in your little space?
In this concentration camps?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We just were swerving around around the buildings, and I mean, well, in the beginning, my mother tried to teach, because before war she had been a teacher, and so it's how in wartime she taught me to read, and from that on, I'm always reading.
Yeah, that's
but
amazing.
she tried to teach children, but then it was forbidden, you know. And I don't know. We were just going around the buildings and
I can imagine, because the funny thing was with kids, right? And even also when you are in a traumatic situation, people don't realize unless they've been in it, but you actually cope with it very differently to the way you think you would cope with it. You know, your thoughts are way out of context to when you're actually in a trauma. And also children just you know, children just play, right? Children, I mean, they do feel like, obviously, when you're in certain like moments of fear, like when you were saying how you had to go to the railway station, and that was a really scary moment for you. You remember that. But then when you're in the concentration camp, it's day after day. So I can imagine you end up playing. You know what I mean? You kind of end up messing around with your brothers and sisters, or did that not happen? Was it too sad every day, or traumatic every day, or were they strict?
No, because there were a lot of children, of course, in this factory, and we all went together, and well, just looking. Well, you know, we tried to grab fruit of the trees. That's one thing in the tropics. There's always something to grab and to eat, and I don't know. I don't remember, but we always went away with a group of children, and we climbed buildings, and we could look over the fences, you know, and looking at all those people walking around in freedom, the Indonesian people. Well, I don't remember we were actually doing things, just going around and playing around. That's right. Only the hunger was always there. That was always there.
Oh, wow.
And then my eldest sister got this sore on her ankle, a wound, and it became, they called it a tropical wound, and it was very, very seriously. She had very high fevers, and my mother was very,
wow.
yeah. But in the end, there were, in another building, there were some nuns, and they had, well, we call it permangaan drops. And it's a kind of medicine. You put some permangaan little how you call it, drops in water, and it turns purple, and it is very disinfecting.
Wow.
And my mother got some from the nuns, and she had to sponge the wound some times a day, and it healed. And it was so seriously that it began to a very nasty odor. So nobody wanted to sleep next to my eldest sister.
Yeah, because it's the blood, right? The infection's in the blood. That's what happens when these infections get so big. I remember my brother was in Zimbabwe, and you know they were hunting, and you know my dad was a hunter as well, and he got a spider bite, but it turned also huge. It got into his blood. It went all the way up his leg. I mean, these wounds,
my God.
they'll kill you for sure.
Yeah, really. But this permangaan was really saved my sister's wound, and I think saved her life as well. And well, surely after war, this permangaan medicine was very popular, because after war there was hardly anything, you know. And it was very cheap as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What is it in Dutch? What's it called in Dutch?
I don't know. Permangaan.
Permangaan. I wonder if because where are you? Are you also in Haarlem? Are you living in Haarlem?
You were living in Haarlem.
Where are you living?
Oh, I'm living in Leidschendam.
Oh, Leidschendam, yes, that's
yeah,
it.
Leidschendam, yeah.
I think because of the connection with Kim through Alice, and then I now remember, because when I first spoke to your daughter Kim before her interview, I remember she wasn't in Haarlem exactly. But there's a fabulous now I'm thinking in Dutch as well, apotheek, maar it's not a pharmacy, but it's a natural pharmacy, right? It's a very famous
surely.
one.
Yeah.
Do you know the Picher, the one in Haarlem? It's quite famous. It's because it's so old. But I wonder if they have that, because it's very traditional.
I think so. It still is there, but of course, then came penicillin.
Okay.
You say
and
penicillin
drops.
Penicillin, and that was a miracle medicine, isn't it?
Well,
until now, we have too much penicillin. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. And too much,
You know?
too much medicine.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I have no medicine in the house, luckily, just paracetamol, you
Yeah.
know.
It's funny.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to have no headaches, anything, but okay, paracetamol. But mostly when I really need it, hardly, I can't find it because when a girl's mom, do you have any paracetamol in the house? And they pick the package, you know,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
I am without, but
Yes.
well, I'm very happy not to need it so much.
Yeah,
Not
no, it's
an-
amazing. I was listening to you and picturing you with, with your siblings and the group of friends while you're in this concentration camp, right? Climbing trees and, peeking over the fence and it's so weird, and I guess it's just because the way I see life. I'm always trying to see. It's just my way of seeing a story through a positive lens, which is why I like to do what I do and interview people and always see it realistically, but also always through a positive lens. And I'm hearing your story, and the reason why we're talking is because your daughter, quote unquote says, you just always turn lemons into lemonade. You know how to do that. And obviously we're going to hear the rest of your, just how your life story evolved. But, being able to do that, as I said in the beginning, it's a life skill. And I guess, also being a young mom, although I'm not young, but I had, my kids are young. I started a bit late in the game, but anyway, you're always looking at your kids and thinking, am I making the right decision? And especially with what we're dealing with, we've already mentioned there's too much medicine these days. The technology is just my biggest issue in life. And I hear your story about you being in a concentration camp, but you were still climbing trees. You know what I mean? Well, now kids are like in the concentration camp of their own homes, just constantly looking at screens.
Yeah, that's right. Indeed. It's life has changed so much in the last 50 years, 50, 60, 70 years. But, well, I was also very lucky to that my parents, my father became 92. Well, his last 2 years, he got Alzheimer, which was very, very sad. And my mother became 97.
Wow.
But I know when I was going in adolescence.
Adolescence, yeah.
Adolescence. Well, then you start to think, and I was always so much afraid of losing my parents. And also when I was just married and had we had our first child, this issue of ever losing my parents was just an issue for me. And luckily they became very, very old. And so, yeah.
But what's your, because we were talking about technology and children and being on screens. How do you link the two together?
Sorry, again?
So we were discussing, so I was saying how, we sort of, I was telling you about the trees and then also about the children nowadays that they don't climb trees because they're on computers and screens all the time. And then you said how things have changed, but then you also went into saying how you feared losing your parents. Do you see a connection there, or?
Well, I don't know. The beautiful thing of losing my my anxiety of losing my parents is well, like my father, we had to put him into an institution because my mom was losing herself in all the sadness and troubles living alone with my father. And So when my father, after 6 weeks in this institution, died, I was so happy for him
Yeah.
because, when we visited, well, how it goes in this institution. When we visited him and we went away, he begged us to come with us, and we had to put this coat on the door to leave and
Oh.
leave him alone. Oh, one of so sad, Jen, so terribly sad. So I think after 6 weeks he gave up, and I was really very glad to lose him in that way. It surely I was sad, but there was peace in my heart about losing him. And my mom was 97, and well, she had fallen sometime and broken her hip, and after operation went into revalidation. And we decided, the 11 of us, just to stay. Everyone had his turn to stay day and night with my mum, and in her apartment. So, well, the eldest came Monday, the other came another day. I was working at 49. I started to work again. I was asked, and I worked 1 week in the mornings and the other week in the afternoons. And then when I came to my mother's house, I slept at her house and, well, just helped her around in the shower, clothing. And until the end, she was always taking care. She was a beautiful woman. She was always taking care of her, her
appearance.
Appearance. And when I was doing it,
by the way.
And
you
when
look lovely
I
too.
Oh, thank you. When I was doing her hair, she got her pencil to draw her brows. So cute, and she looked lovely. She was very, very beautiful woman indeed. And so we helped my mother around her last years, indeed.
Wow. So now I actually understand.
About the technology, well,
But I also understand what I think as well. What made you say that is because we were talking about the concentration camps and being trapped, and then I spoke about children sort of being in the concentration camps of their own house, just staring at screens. And then you spoke about your dad actually being locked in that room. It's funny how that's how your brain connected that story.
Yeah, indeed. Well, my brain is really jumping from one thing to
the
other.
But I like that because I like connecting the dots.
I'm kind of chaotic,
I like connecting the dots. So I just have a question from earlier. You said how your sisters and your brother and the poor guy got caught, trying to get food for you guys, selling your dad's clothes, or not selling, but bartering. Who were those guys on the other side of the fence, and why weren't they in the concentration camp? Why were you guys in the camp, but they weren't?
Oh, okay, surely. In the beginning, when World War II started, all the Dutch husbands, Dutch men, were being interned and
going to the concentration camp.
As my father has mixed blood, and my mother as well, and we had the Dutch nationality, so he was interned as well. And during these 4 years that my father was in Japanese concentration camp, these Japanese could come along, and everybody was warning each other. The Japs are coming around, because they came around and went into the houses to look for blonde people, blonde people or Dutch people, and they had to be in concentration camps. But as we had mixed blood, I'm dark-skinned, but one of my older sisters and this youngest one were blondies, kind of. Well,
Wow.
and
Okay.
so when this when the word came along that Japanese would come along, um, these the youngest one, the two blondies, were put away in another room in the end of the gardens, and so when the Japanese came, they only saw the 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 the, the, the dark-skinned children,
Okay.
and so my mother was left alone. But one time they just came without warning, and those two blondies of the family were
Yeah.
there. But in the end, this Japanese officer or whatever he was pitied my mother with her 11 children. And you know, war is just awful, but these Japanese were leaving a family and children as well when they were sent to war. So this man pitied my mother. He had a family in Japan as well, and he saw my mother with her 11 children. So she was left alone.
Yeah.
And also, we lived in a rather big house, but the neighbors were into concentration camps, and the houses were kept by Japanese, but Japanese people who were in administration, you know, no militaries, but in administration. And they loved my youngest brothers and sisters. And always, when we were playing around in the garden, they called them and eyed them on their heads and petted them. And sometimes they came with big boxes of tartlets, you know.
Yeah.
We were so happy.
Oh, wow.
So there are always, everywhere are good people, you know. There are bad people in war, there are good people in war. So, yeah.
So, and then, when did you get caught then with the blondies? When did you get caught to then go to the camp?
Well, we didn't get caught because of the blondies, but, you know, I told you about the Bersiap and the Pemudas behind our house, and so we had to flee.
Okay, no,
from
but
one
then,
house to the other.
yeah.
And then well, everybody was, they said they were protecting us, but they were protecting us, but we were put in concentration camps as well in this Bersiap
okay,
time.
but that's because you were not in your house, you were not in your safety, so they found you.
Well, yes, they came along all the houses, and we were just we had to obey them, you know. They that, come on, you have to get out your house, get your stuff, and go to the station. And well, yes, walking along, you were being shooted at, and
But I mean, this is because I just want to understand it. But this is because when the other people came to your house. Now, it wasn't your neighbors who liked you, the administration guys, and you know the Japanese administration guys. It was now new Japanese that came into your house and said, "You got to go."
Yeah, in the end, well, not in my case, in my mom's case, as 11 children, but you know, when the atom bomb was being in Hiroshima, war was ended after the second atom bomb was had fallen, and officially ended, and then all the Japanese concentration camps with men and Dutch women and their families were were open, but they were being told just keep in these camps because of the of these Bermudas who were going around slaughtering people. So in the end, those Japanese had to protect the people who couldn't leave the concentration camps. But my mom were put in another concentration camp, not of the Japanese, but of the Indonesian freedom fighters.
Okay. And you with your siblings? Just you and your mom, or also with your siblings?
All
Yeah,
of
all of you.
us,
Yeah.
yeah, all of us, and
So
we all became very ill. We all became very ill, but we survived
yeah.
without medicine.
Yeah. But then
Yeah.
those guys that were on the other side of the fence, just going back to round off that question, they were never going to go into the camp because they were pure Indonesian.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
But
just,
but
yeah.
but you know, I mean, when just before war, when we were living in Surabaya, my mom, being a very social person, we had our servants. You know, everybody had servants from the country.
Yeah.
We call it babus,
Yeah.
and the young men for the garden, etc. But when they became ill, my mother always took care of them, and she heard from her servants that in their kampung, the village where they lived, there were babies ill, and my mother went there with the baby's clothing of my youngest sister, and giving them to mothers who didn't have anything. She brought medicine, she brought food. So we were also spared by those people who, you know, because, yeah,
That's amazing. I
yeah.
actually just heard that same story when I interviewed another guy by the name of Jared Petzer. He's a South African guy, but he's really trying to provide strong pillars for South Africans because the government, you know, is just not really taking care, and it's got nothing to do with race. It's just it's South Africans as a unity. It's not like white or black, or it's just the government's not taking care at the moment. I mean, I'm sure it's in the news, but but he was explaining how when he was a child, his parents always looked after the locals and always treated them as equals. And this was in the apartheid era.
Yeah.
And he said it's funny because in his whole area, people were getting broken into, and, you know, there was theft. And he says, but no one ever touched their house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's kind of similar story.
Yeah,
you
same
know,
karma, same what
yeah.
you give, what you
Yeah.
give, you get. Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So okay, so I mean, this is a history question, but I'm just really curious. So the Dutch took over Holland, right? They colonized Holland. And I should probably just read my history book for this, but maybe you have a quicker answer for me. The Dutch colonized Holland. What did the Japanese have to do with it? Why were they? What was now the Japanese connection in Holland? I mean, I understand the Indonesians wanted their independence, but what were the Japanese doing there?
Well, the Japanese started World War II by bombing Pearl Harbor.
Yes, exactly.
Japan is a small country, and they just wanted, just like Hitler, they wanted to have an Asian emporium, you know.
Okay. All right.
And so they invaded Asia, but they started by bombing Pearl Harbor, and which became World War II. And as they were fighting this war in Indonesia, they were just teaching the young Indonesian people just to fight for their own freedom. And that's how the independence ideas started. Well, I totally agree, of course. 300 years of colonization and that wasn't a good time. There were good moments, but very, very many bad moments. You know what? But I was just, in the beginning, the colonization, people from mostly young men were being sent to Indonesia because it was a very rich country. also bad influencers from Germany, from Holland, from France, bad young men who didn't take their life serious, were sent by the families to the colonies. But these young men, of course, they were alone and started to have relationships with local women and having children as well. And we call these women, were called nyai. Nyai. And sometimes those European men legalized their relationships, but many didn't. And after some years, some of these men got women, wives from Holland, or from Europe. And so they married in Indonesia with this European Dutch woman. And the nyai was sent to her village, sometimes with her children, but sometimes the children couldn't, the father wouldn't let them go. And the mother had to leave her children. Even so, the Dutch, many Dutchmen went to Holland after some years and took their children with them. And this nyai, this Indonesian woman, had just nothing. So sad. Yeah. When I think about that, it just breaks my heart.
Because I think any mom that would break any. I mean, I'm also hearing that it's just a mother and a child connection, right? It's just it breeds so much emotion, and there's just So okay, and then do you know your heritage? Do you know how you became to also have this Dutch blood in you, where two of your siblings were blondies?
Yeah. Hold on. My father's mother came from another province in Indonesia, Solo. And in Solo, they had a sultan, a kind of king, really, in the also in the colonial times, in the pre-colonial, there were many sultans and provinces of Indonesia. But, well, every girl from Solo said she had heritage from the Sultan, but that was just I don't know.
Just to get her foot in the door.
Yeah. But okay, that was my my father's mother. She was a very fragile little woman. And I just got to know her after the war when she came to Holland as well. And okay, she was pure Indonesian. And his father already had mixed blood. Okay. So, but my mother, she never was a blondie, but my mother, her father came from Rotterdam. He was a real Dutchman, and he was Jewish as well, I think.
Wow.
And but her mother was a nurse with mixed blood. So, it's all very...
okay. But it's not like you have...
These two blondies come from my grandfather, the Rotterdam man.
Yes, okay, there we go. Nice to know. So, okay, right. So you moved to Holland when you were 12. Like, what was that like? Tell us about your life going forward from there.
Oh, I missed my birth country very much. I hated the climate. I still do.
So do I. Oh my goodness. That's why I'm enjoying South Africa so much as I can right now.
Exactly. But I had to enter high school. 12 years. Okay. And with my sister, who was 2 years older, the same school in The Hague. And we had all these classes, Dutch and French and mathematics and geography and history and French. French? I never had French at school in Indonesia, but it seemed that in pre-war times and after war times, children already had French lessons in schools.
Yeah.
While I never had. And then I went to this, I had this French class, and it was just like abracadabra for me.
Yeah.
It said, maman, fume une pipe. Okay, I don't know what it says. You know, le pain est chaud. Well, I just didn't understand one word. Well, I got lessons then, you know, but okay, I enjoyed, I didn't enjoy school, but I enjoyed my school time, making friends, etc., etc. And so I finished, after 5 years, I finished high school there.
Yeah. And tell me your English. I mean, I know Holland is known for you know, the fact that most people speak English, right? It's not like France, where, you know, no one speaks English, and preferably have someone with you that speaks French, otherwise they're extremely rude, right? So, but in Holland, you know, the Netherlands is known for the fact that everyone does speak English. But I've lived there, as you know now, for 11 years, and not everyone speaks good English in your contemporary, in your age group, right? So there are a lot of older people whose English is not great, but yours is really fluid. Why? How come?
Well, I don't know. I love to read books in English rather than American, but I don't know.
You mean British books as opposed to American
books? British, yeah, surely, yeah. But still, well, you are right that not all people are very fluent in English, because I have this how do you say, husband of my eldest daughter, her ex, and he's...
Sorry, say that again, you have?
Yeah, I have my eldest daughter, Zoe, who's 54 now. She was married to Alexander. He was an English professor. And he changed from college to teach English at the military school, the high military, where young people are educated to be officers, you know. And he was teaching English over there. But at one point, he was asked to teach generals and colonels who had to go into all directions of the world to have meetings with everybody over the world who spoke so badly. So you are right, not everyone is fluent in English. Yeah. So he still is being asked to put a good art and good English in military magazines, you know. So,
yeah.
So,
But what about you? That's him.
I don't know why, because...
I mean, because when you read, it's different to... I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, it's different to talking, right? You know, you can read, but you still need to talk it a lot to have that, to let it roll off your tongue easily.
I can talk to you, but I couldn't preside a meeting.
Oh no, I think you speak beautifully and very eloquently as well.
But I don't know why, but nowadays, even at kindergarten, they are teaching English already. So that's we are such a small country. We need to go out into the world and say our words.
No, I understand. And I think definitely the reading, which is what you said, right? Your mom taught you to read when you were in those concentration camps, is your gift. So okay, so I mean, you then adjusted and you met your friends, and then what did you study in the end? What job did you end up taking? You said you worked again earlier.
After, well, college, 5 years of college.
Mm.
Well, not well, high school. Okay, college is another thing in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
opinion. Um, my parents, in
Mm.
those era, you never had a real own choice. But okay, my parents said, okay, yeah, you're 17, you go into the education to become a teacher.
Mm.
Okay, but I had 5 years in a mixed school, but boys and
Yeah.
girls. But this academy for teaching, being a teacher, was a Catholic one. Only girls with nuns. So,
And I'm watching you because obviously everyone
yeah,
listening now, a lot of people listening
yeah,
on the podcast
and
can't
you,
see you, but your
yeah,
eyebrows rise up.
and because of my 5 years of high school, I didn't have to start from class 1, but I could just start class 3. And those girls, they were just looking at me and pep, 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 pep. So I, I followed for a week, and then I said, no, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
And in the end, I started working, and during work, you got an education as a typist and a stenographer in all languages,
Mm.
which I couldn't do it now. And
But is that what you were doing? Were you translating or what were you doing?
sorry,
What is stenographer? What were you doing?
working at a well, not the central post office,
Okay.
the big central, which was where all the headquarters were.
Yes.
And well, during your course of typing and stenographers, you just had to do some administration.
Mm.
But I liked it very much. We made so many friends for years over there
Yeah.
during this work.
Yeah. Yeah.
There wasn't any. I couldn't go really study in university. There wasn't money for it.
Okay. Yeah.
My oldest brother went into med school at the university, but there wasn't money for the others. So some of us started working, and well, I had no difficulty with it.
Mm.
It was just time of this era. After wartime, nobody had really. Uh, well, we didn't because of
Mm.
11 children. We were
Mm.
never rich.
Yeah.
But well, we accepted that, and I had a lovely time working over there, and we
Yeah.
made so many friends indeed.
Yeah. And that didn't bother you, like you were happy. I mean, you said you already did say, but I mean, it really didn't bother you that your brother got to study his doctorate and you didn't. Like that, it was
Oh
just so
no,
accepted.
no, not at all. Because no, no, not at all. I can't remember having any. Oh, he can, and
Mm.
I can't. No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no. We were such a small community, and we were also always feeling safe and happy.
Yeah.
We had nothing. We had nothing because I always when I told other friends who were born in smaller families and therefore had more material things than we had. And then I told them, well, only at Sundays we had some little meat, and during weekdays we had this, that I remember, terrible sauce from a tablet.
Yes.
And they pitied us so much, and we had really, we were laughing. And well, okay, that was it,
Yeah.
and nothing else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, your mom, I mean your mom sounds also incredible, you know, how she raised you and yeah, just, you know, allowed you to see life, you know, simply, beautifully, you know, and I mean, I can imagine with so many kids though, you know, it's like my mom had four and three, you know, three were the boys and then me. I mean, she also, you know, she also with discipline, for example, and I don't know what that was like in your family, but we got smacks, like we got a hiding on our bottom.
Oh,
If we
yeah.
you know, if we misbehave, we got a good smack on the ass, you know. And my mom said, I didn't have time to go into conversation.
To discussions, yeah, 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 yeah.
Was that the
this
same?
This is not a discussion. This is it.
Yeah.
No, no, no. I remember being smacked just one time because my younger sister, she was very small then, and probably I let her fall. I don't know, but she screamed away, and then I got a smack on my butt from my
Yeah.
mother. But that's it. We never got smacked, nor by my father, nor by my mom. And but we were educated each other. You know, that's it. You know, I just want to something chaotic, but I just want to tell you something, a transition from where we the moment we went to Holland again, 1950. Okay, there were just 5 years after war. My father was building up his career, and he had a beautiful career. But I remember my father coming home one day, just some weeks before we went to Holland, and there was this inflation, and we had billets as money, and you had to cut every 2 guilders 50. You had to cut in half because it was only worth 1.25. And so this little capital he had managed to save after war, it was just half of it worth. And then when you go to Holland, the course, it was 1 to 2. Dus when you had, for example, 1,000 guilders, when you go to Holland, you only have 500.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my father lost a quarter of his savings going to Holland, and then raising 11 children. You know, so this was, I think, I would have been just like that, but they stayed calm. And well, okay, we didn't have meat every day, but no problem.
Yeah. And tell me, so, and then you got married and had kids, and so what's your adult life been like in Holland? So that you really it's, you know, it sounds to me like, and I guess a lot of kids, right, they adjust quickly. But what's your adult life been like? Have you not wanted to go back to Indonesia and
No, well, then I never thought of going back, nor did my parents. Well, first of all, they hadn't got the money because there were no charter flights, nothing. It was very expensive. But I also think they were afraid of going back, of being, well, caught by nostalgie. Because, well, they chose to alive in the Netherlands. You know, when my father was being asked to return, and he said, "No, I want to be with my family." Okay, that was his choice. And my adult life, okay, well, surely I was very happy when I got married with the love of my life then.
Yeah.
No, but
And when you say
Yeah,
then, he was the
but
love of your life then.
mhm.
Is he still the love of your life?
Well, I lost him
Mm.
this year in November. It will be 19 years ago.
Yeah.
He was 66 and I was 64 then. And we were very healthy, okay. We only had paracetamol in the house, and he went touring on his motorbike, and he could leave work, go to be a pensionada at 61 in those times. They call it the VUT. And he did, and I still was working half days as a secretary. And well, it was very nice. He enjoyed his free time going on the motorbike, and I always thought, "Van, oh, we will be going into our 80s together," you know. And then, well, just one day he got this massive lung emboly, and well, within half an hour we lost him. So yeah, that was really shock to the traumatic, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this I called the girls, and they came, and I went with the ambulance. There were two ambulances, and the first one gave him oxygen. He came out of the bathroom and just fell down, and I had to call the 112 over here, and the ambulance was very quick, and they put oxygen, but he's through it. It didn't came through, you know, but it was because of this lung embolism.
Embolism, yeah.
Embolism, yeah. And then another ambulance came. Well, in the end, he was taken to hospital, but I was really very sure he would survive because he was so healthy. I didn't know, of course, it was an embolism. And so when all the children came to the hospital as well, and in the end, two doctors came to this room where we were, and I was so convinced that they would say, "Well, your husband's all right. You can go and see him." And then they said, "We lost him." Well, I never screamed as much as this at that moment. Indeed, it was so traumatic. I was so convinced he would just go on to be there. Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, that's shocking. Shocking
Yeah.
to lose someone unexpected and someone
Yeah.
that you is just your closest person in your life. Like
Yeah,
that's just the most shocking experience.
Yeah, that's right. Well, my husband and I had a very shocking uh, thing in our lives when our first child was a son. He was called David, and we lost him at 5.
Oh.
He was playing. He was a very outgoing child, and always playing around. There were no technologic game sets, etc.
Yeah,
So he was
no
playing
screen time.
around. Yeah, and one afternoon he just rang the bell downstairs at the apartment. Can I come up with a friend? Surely, come up. And then after 2 seconds, well, this friend asked me to play at his house. I said, okay, be at home in the same street. Be at home at 5 o'clock. Okay. But meanwhile, after this apartment block, there was a canal being digged. And I always told David, well, when this canal is ready and there's water, you can't ever play near the canal. And well, I don't know how, but he never went to the house of this little friend. They went outside along the canal. So David, as a very energetic boy, I don't know what he did, but he fell into the water and he drowned.
Oh. That's just,
Yeah,
oh, I'm so sorry, Magda.
that changes your life indeed. He would have been 58 by now.
Oh,
And I'm always wondering, how would he look? You know?
no, now I'm crying. Shame. Oh, it's awful. It's
Yeah.
I've lost a brother too, so but losing a child, like, you know,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mom has never recovered. Never. It's
No,
awful.
yeah, it's just this thing you always with you, you know. It really changes your life indeed. But then I have now these three beautiful girls. Zoe, the one after David, was just 1 year old, and she was a beautiful baby, very easy to handle. And David just loved his little sister. He always said, Mum, when I am big, I will marry Zoe and I'll take care of her, you know.
How sweet.
And he was so very fond of her. Yeah, so things happen in one's life, you know, and you have to carry on.
But how did you? I mean, how did you? Because my mom did, she's just
collapsed.
since my brother died, she's lost her mind. She's just, and that's also why I moved back to South Africa.
Yeah, but you know, well, it's something you can't get around. I never asked why, because it doesn't solve anything.
No.
But you know, the funny thing is, the next you go to sleep, and you wake up, and the sun is there. What? My world was just wham, and everything goes on. And well, I think that saves you from going into very traumatic times, you know. But still, I was reading Zoe, just the little fairy tale of Snow White.
Yeah.
And this prince kissing the Snow White into life. And oh my God, but this can't be, you know, it's simple things. And it's, well,
That's so amazing that you're saying that now, because we started the conversation talking about fairy tales, right?
Yeah.
And now you saying this, and it's almost like, I think that this is what's so beautiful about this conversation, is that there's no, as we said, there's no fairy tale ending, and you and I have lived through shocking losses that, you know, that you just can't ever expect or imagine would happen to you in life. And but what's beautiful is that you've decided that it's also not going to be a bad ending. Do you know what I mean? You've decided that you're going to, you are in a way going to keep your own, like the hope of the fairy tale alive in a way, right? Because you haven't let go. You're holding on. You know.
Well, but you know, in these sad times, I had my family, my parents. I mean, they were such supporting me, and my brothers and sisters. It helps. And of course, we had Zoe to take care of. And well, after some time, I just thought, I can't Zoe that her life just as a one child in a family. So we had Eva, this other girl, and well, it never fills up things that you lost, of course, but you know, you have to take care of little humans, so you have to go on
Yeah.
and try to be happy with them, doing nice things, celebrating every birthday. So you have to. Well, I don't think I chose to make the choice, but I just did it. Yeah.
Mm.
And then there came Kim,
Yeah.
and it wasn't well after three pregnancies. I thought it was all right, and but I couldn't take the pill after the after Eva. So I said to my husband,
So she wasn't planned.
I said to my husband, maybe you go to our doctor and and you ask for a vasectomy. And he said, you make the appointment. I thought, oh, well, that doesn't work. If I have to make the appointment for his vasectomy, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I chose another birth control, being talked into by my sister-in-law, the Dalcon shield. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but well, I went to the hospital and they put it in me, and after 6 months I was pregnant. Of Kim,
There you go.
indeed.
She's a little fighter. She is. So she fights for. And everyone listening, I'll just quickly say on the microphone, everyone listening, you can go listen to Kim's interview. I interviewed her when I was still in Holland many months ago. It's Kim Cramer. You can just go search it on the website. But she's a fighter, and she was meant to be, and she's fighting for the good of the world, right? And
really meant to be, because I had those lovely Zoe and Eva, and I was happy as I could be. But the responsibility was really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because I lost a child and 2 children, so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then I became pregnant.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I can't handle this. I can't handle this. So another human responsibility. But then, of course, she came. And then, things go where they have to go. I got so busy with 3 little children, I hardly had time to drown into my sadness. You had to handle everything. I mean, school for the first one, this second one to the crash, etc. So it helped me. It really helped me over the loss of David. We always said she was meant to be, indeed. Yeah.
But I mean, on that note, ironically, because the episode that came out today is about a woman whose mom actually tried to kill her several times, and her mom had postnatal depression, and eventually when Leslie was an older lady, her mom actually ended up taking her own life. And this is the story that went out today on our show with Leslie Robinson. But here's a mom who, look, obviously, no story's the same, but it's I think the reason why I tell stories and share stories is it's so that we gain wisdom as human beings. I think this is ultimately the 2 reasons why I love to share your stories and everyone's stories. Is ultimately it's connecting in love, right? Because I think when you share, you feel love. And for me, that's my ultimate goal, is to feel love through these stories and to share the love. But it's also the wisdom that you learn. It's and like sitting around a campfire in the old days, you would share stories. And so I think that's where my drive comes to do this. And while your story's not the same as, say, Leslie's mom, you could have also gone into postnatal depression. So why didn't you go into postnatal depression when you were under such stress?
Yeah, maybe it was my education and my this little community of this loving family who were always supporting us in those times. I always think maybe when I didn't have my parents and my family as I had them at the time, I I would have lost myself. I don't know, but it's yeah, big consolence, you know.
So it's
Indeed,
community, it's having people around you that you love. That's what I'm hearing you say is ultimately, and that's what you say throughout this conversation, is the strength of the community of your siblings, and
yeah,
it's the community, the love, the trust.
yeah, yeah. I well, I must say, I just live for my family, my siblings, my little grandchildren. They're also adorable, and yeah, that makes my life happy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah,
And I mean, are you ashamed? And like, are you able to, get by with your partner in crime and your soulmate, having just recently left you? Are you okay?
I some people. I had this sister, and she said, "I'm so angry at George." He was called
Yeah.
that he left you. And I said, well, he didn't want to go. I think he was as much surprised. I mean, well, you know that it's just life. Life isn't honest, and everything can happen in life. But there's I must say, I have this anxiety about uh, losing people. You
Loss.
know, yeah, and well, my parents had these 11 children. Um, our youngest, who was born just before war started, and she was called Agnes,
Yeah.
and she was the youngest. And well, when she was 65, we all had always celebrating everything together, you know. And we call it like Indonesian style kumpulan.
Mm.
Kumpulan is just a lot of people together having fun, loving each other, etc. And she, being the youngest, she was living away in another, not another country, another city. When she was 65, she became ill, and it appeared. The diagnosis in the end was ALS. I don't know whether you,
LS.
yeah, ALS,
What is
ALS, yeah.
LS again? I know that. What is
It
it?
it is this disease from within the brain.
Mm-hmm.
All your muscles die uh,
It's not
rapidly.
multiple sclerosis.
No,
MLS.
it is terminal. This one is
Okay.
terminal,
Yeah.
ALS.
Okay.
And well, it started in her legs, and okay, it was diagnosed. No, not so many people does this have this disease, but so okay. In the beginning, she was okay. I can do everything, but very little by little, she lost her the strength of her muscles, and
Mm.
in the end, she couldn't. It took her 12 years. The first 5 years was kind of all right. The
Mm.
last 5 years was just so sad. She sat in his wheelchair with all kinds of helping things, and she couldn't. 5 times a day, daycare people came around just to shower her, to help her to the WC. In the end, she couldn't eat herself. We had to help her around. It was just so sad. And my other sister, the one over the youngest one, she's called Detta, Bernadette, but we all call her Detta. Dad and I came every day, and just to be there for her. And well, in the end, she asked for euthanasia. You say euthanasia?
Euthanasia. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And she had this huisarts, house doctor, a young one, and who came, who just visited her every 6 weeks, and in the last year, every 2 weeks. And yeah, he did everything for her. He was very, very nice. And she felt very guilty, because of leaving us. And I said, don't, there's no guilt. There's hardly any life for her. She got depressed, And I said, just do what you want. She said, I can't anymore. I cannot go on like this. I said, okay, that's your choice. And so she was helped, and it was very beautiful indeed. And she was 78 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but very, not funny, very strange. Within a year, we lost our eldest sister.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very, very strange. So now.
But from your youngest then to your oldest.
Yeah, and now 2 weeks ago, we got the message that another brother, he was a pediatrician in his life, but living in an institution after he lost his wife, and we lost him as well. So there are still 8 of the 11. But for this brother of mine, I'm glad as well, because his aunt, living alone in this institution, a girl in Hanoi, his daughter, and his son in Brussels, which is rather near, but still there. Yeah. So, my generation is living their last years.
Yeah.
And when I think of it, of course, it's just not be able to see my grandchildren grow up. That's my deepest trouble, but still, I know.
And that's probably what will keep you going, right? That is what's also keeping you strong. As your children helped you to get through, so are your grandchildren probably helping you now with your your love of your life.
Yeah, from the birth of my eldest grandson, I took care of babysitted for now about 31 years.
Wow.
After he was born, after 3 years, there came another grandchild. After 3 years, and well, the last ones were the youngest ones of Kim, and they are so adorable now, indeed.
So tell me, I just want to, we're going to close off soon, but I just want to know, like when you did go through those dark days, when you did go through those really difficult days, like even when you said when you had Kim, she was in your tummy and you were thinking, how am I going to do this, and you were struggling. Like, what is the psychology that plays through your head? How do you really get through it where other people... It's like almost there's a switch in the mind where you choose to go left or to go right. I don't know. You said you saw that you wake up, you see the sunshine. Another person would wake up and not see the sunshine. And I know you speak about the community, but when you're at home in your own little world, how do you get through things psychologically for yourself?
I don't know. I think it was my education as well. I mean, my parents went through such difficult times in wartime, and they were always positive. And well, their faith helped them really through everything. Well, I'm a traditional Catholic. I never go to church. I always visit cathedrals and churches in other countries, and so putting a candle there. But it's this positivity they gave us in our lives. They never, I never saw them uh, in negative moods.
Never, never. I mean, this is actually
Yeah,
so nice to
I
interpret
really,
as a mom, how can I
yeah.
make sure that I give them what your mom gave you?
My mom was always very happy when we were around, but she
Mm.
always enjoyed having her children, all the grandchildren around. She really enjoyed that, but she lived her life from within her face. The only the only thing she was sad about was when we were taking care of her in the days
Yes.
that she was. And there was this woman from the Catholic Church who
Yeah.
brought communion. You know about
Yes,
communion.
yes.
Yeah, who brought to my mom because that for her it was really, really important, and she
Mm.
did only good because of her face, my mom. And then she had a talk with this woman, and she said, "My only, I'm so sad that all my children have left the church." And that was her big issue. But I said to her, "Mom, don't worry. We take our own responsibilities. I mean, it's harder to take your own responsibilities in life than following rules from any institution,
Mm.
you know. But that she was so faithful to her religion and so believing in the goodness of God that, yeah. But I think this face of her, she gave something to us because there, I can't. There's no one of my brothers or my sisters. Yeah, we all have the same, well, position in life. Now, not exactly like each other, but
Mm.
we all have this, yeah, this phase in
Yeah.
life. I can enjoy just sitting in a little sunshine in my post stamp garden
Yeah.
and looking around at what is blooming. I can enjoy that, and well, I enjoy the company of. I live for my children.
Mm.
That's yeah, and that's it.
Yeah. And tell me, the way you speak about with your mom, and she was always happy for you to be around. And I think that that is an incredible energy to give your kids to know, for kids to know that they're always welcome. I think is that is the key, is for them to
Yeah,
know this is where they belong, and this
yeah,
is where they are safe, and they can lose the plot, they can throw their toys out the cot, but they will always be welcome in this
yeah,
space. This is their
yeah,
home.
yeah.
What do you say now for, because I know Kim, right? I've interviewed Kim. She's a busy woman, and you babysitting the kids, right? This is different now to your mom wasn't getting babysitters in per se, right? She was always there. What's your feeling about that, where nowadays us women, we feel we need to work, but we kind of, it's also a bit indoctrinated that we kind of owe it to ourselves in a way. We owe it to society to also give to society. But then we have these kids, and then we're dealing now with this conflict of wanting to be there
Different
for the
life.
kids,
Yeah.
but then we have these goals. What is your feeling about that?
Well, I admire all three of them. Zoe, the eldest, was divorced 2 times, but she just working so hard for herself and for her sons. And you know, yeah, and with help of the family, and she's doing really very well. I mean, she was rebuilding her house. She had this chimney in her house, and she was going away with a big electric hammer because she wanted more. And she can do everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, but like you saying, they know they can always depend on me when they need help. I am there for them, but they are there for me as well. Whenever I need help. Until now, I don't need much help in physical.
No.
But
No.
yeah, and I think, I mean, I think it's good for them to have a life beside their family life, you know.
So do you think that? Do you, having a
Yeah.
mother who didn't,
Yeah,
do you
I-
believe it is actually good?
Yeah, but no, I admire them in it that they can handle it, you know, and well, I think it's very good for your mind to have other troubles except choosing what do we eat today. But they're doing good. They're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, all three of them.
No, but the reason also why I say it is because when you do then have those other troubles, then by contrast to your mom, we come home and we don't always have a smile on our face. Do you know what I mean? We come home and it's not just always you know, this positivity because something's happened at work, or you know, we you know, so then that's why I'm just trying to compare those two, right? Not to compare for comparison's sake, because that steals the joy. It's more just to gain the wisdom in seeing the contrast, you know.
Yeah, well, surely I'll be having moments or times that I think, "Bleh," you know. Surely, and there's a whole winter coming along when I feel like, ooh.
Oh, okay,
But
yeah.
but I can put it away when I'm with my children, you know. And well, it's so. I never saw my mom depressed or always such bright eyes and always so loving. And you know, when I was helping her out in the last years, I love to hear her say to me when I helped her or just giving coffee or anything, thank you, kindlief. Kindlief, of
Yes.
mijn lieve kind, you
Child
know.
love, yeah.
So yeah, so it's so sweet.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe our kids, maybe I don't know. I guess I just feel like sometimes I shout too much, but it's because I feel like I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to be a mom, and I choose not to, you know, I choose to also be close to home and work from home. My husband actually laughed at me yesterday because, you know, I don't know, I said something about working from home, and he laughed. He said, actually, that's always been your wish, is to work from home so you can be with your kids. But then it's also stressful because the kids are constantly trying to get your attention and you're working, you know, whereas, so it's, I guess it's just always going to be a debate, like how you manage that time, you know?
well, you do your best. That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Do your best as a mom,
Yeah.
but as a career woman as well, because it's, I think, yeah, it's so important for women to be independent, you know, not only in financial or material things, but in your head, other things than just caring for diapers and food and everything. And okay, the children has their right to interrupt
Yeah.
when you're having a meeting or whatever, and it's just trying to keep it in balance, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, in my era, when the babies were born, I was just enjoying. I didn't work then, of course. In that era, you didn't work when you had children. I was enjoying putting my babies into the bath and clothing them and powdering, and I just loved those times when they were so
Yeah.
small and dependent on me. But it's a different time, and I think you females have to have another kind of life beside. And I think, and I see it around Fridjan and a husband of Eva are helping around. I mean, in my time, they were just strict. Well, not strict, but I was there for the children. My husband was there for her.
For
And
work, you mean? So
this,
it was
the,
women were helping.
the,
Yeah,
there's,
nowadays the men
there's now
help more.
there's now a balance between, and I mean, mentally, I mean, you can, how do I say, uh, on the same level, you can talk or discussions on the same level. I mean, when I was young, I was just being at the house, at home, taking care, and now it must be much more interesting to have a mind, to have the same level. Not really same, but you can have really, yeah. I think that's
Oh, you mean so with you and your partner to
yeah,
have the
yeah,
same, just to be on the same level, to be on the
yeah,
same independence level, to
that's
come in
it.
at the same angle, same place.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
you can discussions. You can have discussions about things, because in your studies you are trained to put your brains into, that's it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, Magda, in closing, I think I'm going to grab onto that fairy tale metaphor of our conversation. But what can you leave us with, in terms of a nice tip or some nice advice? The listener now, let's face it, everyone listening to this conversation now all has their own something that's happened in life that wasn't what they hoped for, or be it with their children, be it in their own life, be it with decisions they've made, which is exactly the opposite of what we get taught with this fairy tale ending, right? So what is your tip for that, for accepting life, of the fact that it isn't this whole fairy tale? What's your final leaving thought for us there?
Oh, well, I think you have to try to believe in yourself, and I think, well, that's very difficult to put into words. Well, I don't have any advice. I mean, I think you the first thing you have to try in life is to be as happiest as you can. I mean, to love yourself. Well, I don't love myself. I have too many issues, I think, but but I I think
That's
you
not true. That's not true.
you have to well, I was trained, in my young years, I was trained to be the lesser one, not really in those words, but females were living another life those days. And
Sure,
I
like your
think,
brother went to study and you didn't, for example.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it makes your life richer. I mean, you are trained to let your brains work, and uh, be also be content. I don't. I'm very I'm very happy with the life I live, and there are beautiful moments, there are lesser moments, but try to get the most out of your life. And well, I think uh, love is the most happy thing that for your children, for your family. That's it. I think nobody can live without love for life, for yourself, for, well, they say you can't love anyone else before you love yourself. I don't know, but love is very, very important. I love life, and well, I've many friends, and I have my family and my brothers and sisters, and yeah, I'm content. I'm not wishing what my neighbor has, or no, and well, maybe we could be less materialistic, indeed, because I think people are learning now to be less materialistic, to be just another bigger house, a bigger car. I mean, it means nothing in the end.
Mm. But you do love yourself, because you said you didn't. I just have to confirm that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm very well. I don't want to say I'm very balanced, because I'm, like I say, chaotic person. But you know, I'm now realizing, 83 years old, that I can't be multitasking anymore. You know,
what,
when I was younger, I could think about one thing, do another thing, doing the washing, but now I'm relaxing now, and I think that's good. And I'm not wanting to be everywhere, want to know everything. Okay, but chilling. I'm
Chilling,
chilling
cool.
now. Yeah, I'm chilling now.
Oh, well, we'll end there. It's been so beautiful to talk to you. Thank you so much.
It was so nice to meet you on video and to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I wish you a very beautiful and happy life
Thank you, Magda. You
with
too.
your family. Thank you.
Yeah. Lots of kisses. And send my love to Kim.
It's for living. Let's see where this all might lead. I said life is for living. Let's see where this